Just kind of the perspective of somebody as an addict myself, I had lost hope. If it wasn't for them, there was no hope anywhere in my life. All you're doing is killing them slowly. You have to break that cycle.
Good morning, Jake. Good to see you again. I wanted to touch base with you today about an idea about hope and what your thoughts are about how hope can affect families through recovery and individuals through recovery. Let's start by talking about your own recovery and what hope meant to you.
Thanks, Michael. So hope was one of those things that I was lacking at the point that right before I went to treatment and got help. I didn't really have any hope. Really was so beat down that I didn't think I was worth saving, that there wasn't any point in me doing this. So I was lacking in hope. There really wasn't anything left for me there. It was my family that still had some hope left that, kind of pushed me to do all of that. Once I made it into treatment a little bit and realized that I was worth saving, then that's kind of when I could see a glimmer of hope. I could see that maybe I could make my way through this and have a life. So it's a lot easier to look back now and know that hope was never gone 100%. And so when I see guys come in now, that's one of the harder things to get across to them, is to let them know that there still is hope. Some of these guys have lost a lot. They've lost their family. They've lost their homes, their jobs. They have legal trouble. Some of them have health issues. They have a lot they've already lost. And so we're kind of at that point of why even trying? And then for me, it was, God had a purpose for me. And it took me a while to figure out what that was. And I feel like it's to be here at the ranch. And so that's my hope now, is to be able to take that hope and pass it on to that next person that doesn't have any.
There's like a spark that can give you the strength to get through the difficult parts of the process of recovery.
Yeah, it's easier when there's people around you that see inside of you what you don't see. The disease of addiction is very isolationism. A lot of that going on. You eventually tend to use alone, to drink alone. And so when you do all those things alone, you're in your mind, you're in your thoughts, just you. And that's scary. And so it takes those people around you to show you that, provide you some hope and give you a future.
So for you, and maybe what you see in others, do you think that they reach a point where their patterns of behavior have become so destructive that they've diminished their hope to hopelessness, and that through recovery and through interacting with others and through faith, they can start to build that spark of hope again that can be a driving force for their recovery?
Yeah, so human beings are creatures of habit. So forget about the physical addiction and the mental addiction to the substances. You get up every morning and you get out of bed and you put your slippers on and you make your cup of coffee. That's your routine. That goes on for years. If you get up and your slippers are gone or the coffee machine doesn't work, your whole day can be ruined, because we're creatures of habit and we like things as they go. And what happens in addiction is that you're so used to the chaos, you're so used to the misery, that's what you're comfortable in. And so it is hard to see outside of that tunnel. All you see is just this. And the longer you're in it, the smaller this tunnel gets, until there's barely any light left, and that light is your hope. So it takes somebody around you to, show you that the light can get bigger. You can get out of this tunnel. We got to break this cycle. It may be comfortable now, and it's scary to want to try to recover, because recovery, you don't know what that is. You just have somebody like me saying that it's better, but you don't know. But you know what you've gone through, and you know that it may not be great, but it's what I know.
Yeah, and it's easy to go back to that. Like you said, being a creature of habit, go back to what you know, even if it's terrible, and terrible for you and terrible for your family and terrible for anyone that loves you. So from a family perspective, I've encountered addiction in my family in various forms. There's a family member that I don't interact with so much anymore. He had struggled with some things. He went to jail for a little while. And my concern is always, when I interact with him, or when he doesn't reach out anymore, but he has with my father, it's usually to get something that will fuel his addiction. So I've struggled with having hope for him. What do you say to families to encourage them to continue to support their loved ones?
it would be what my family was told. You don't have to stop loving them. Nobody's asking you to stop loving your family or those people close to you, but you can love them from a distance and you don't have to like them. Just because you love them doesn't mean that they have to come over for Christmas dinner or be around your kids or that you have to answer their phone calls. Because like you said, I mean, if every time they call, they need something for their addiction, well, you get pretty wore out with that and you may stop answering those phone calls. So what happened with me and the families that I work with is my family was told, and what I tell families is, let them know that you are there to help. And this is what you're willing to help with. So with my family, it was, we are willing to help you get medically stabilized at detox, and we are willing to help you go to residential treatment. Outside of that, we are not helping. We're not bailing you out. We're not paying for your bills. We're not inviting you over for family get-togethers. Until you do these things, that we're not going to have any other contact. And what happens is that addicts, we're so used to being able to call the ones that we love and get what we need because we're pretty good at lying. We're pretty good at manipulating. And, my family would tell me, this is the last time. This is the last time. We're not doing this again. But it wasn't. And they do it again. And they do it again. So we as addicts are looked at as liars. But sometimes the family can lie and they don't even know it because they're saying this is the last time. But then it's not. And what had to happen for me was my family had to tell me truth. They had to stick to that. And the time that they said, we're done, and they meant it. And when I called them back and they said, no, you ready to go to treatment? No. Well, then we're not helping you. Until I realized that that's all they were willing to do, I wasn't boxed in yet. I still had escape routes whenever I could call and get bailed out. Those escape routes were gone. So I would encourage families that, love them from a distance. And tell them what you're going to do and don't do anything outside of that. And don't lie to them.
So enforce the boundaries that you've put in place, but you've been bending all the time.
I'd give them anything and everything they ever would ask for. I understand that as a parent, but if you keep enabling them, all you're doing is killing them slowly. So at some point, you have to break that cycle and you have to hope and pray for the best that they come around. That's all that you can do.
Yeah. I remember going through a tough time with my son where I realized I had to strengthen my boundaries. They'd been there. And the most important thing I think that came from that was I wanted him to realize that I was a man of my word, that if I had these values and these principles, that if I spoke about them and conducted my life in that way, I expected him to do so too. I couldn't keep bending those ideas or ideals for him. And it was probably one of the best things for my relationship with him. Horrible, but it was, at the time, it was horrible. So talking about hope again, what do you say to a family that feels like they're losing hope? You want them to restructure their boundaries, to stay strong, to love from a distance, and that hope could be that guiding principle that helps them get through these hard times?
Yeah, just come from the perspective of somebody as an addict myself. I had lost hope. Looking back now, I was really counting on my family to be the ones that still had hope for me. If it wasn't for them, there was no hope anywhere in my life. So what I tell families is there is an end to this, and there are things that you can do to get a better shot at a positive result. And one of those things is to never lose hope, because the person that you love that's going through this, they're going to lose hope. If you both lose hope, then your chances of survival are pretty slim.
Well, as usual, it was a very enlightening conversation. I really appreciate your time, and we will catch up again about a new subject soon.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it.
Thank you.